Hello and welcome back to Mind of Success. I'm your host, Moni, a Mexican British living in Asia. I work in fintech and build digital banks from scratch. In my years in the industry, I've realized most of us are in a vulnerable financial position. However, building a business can be a catalyst for change. So I created this podcast. It's about business stories we do not talk about. I chat with entrepreneurs, CEOs, and experts about their journeys, struggles, and lessons to extract gems of wisdom and practical tools so that we can thrive and create the impact we want. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. This week we have a topic that is not only relevant, but it's important and it is close to everybody's hearts, especially now after the pandemic. And yes, it is numbers, personal finance, but more important, financial freedom. Yep, now I got your attention, right? Good. So today we have Hulya Gunay as a guest. Perfect pronunciation.
Perfect. Yes.
Hulya, she is a private wealth management and financial planner. She's got an impressive career. Like she used to be in asset management, wealth management, investment banking. She worked in London, Dublin, Istanbul, worked in the big brands like UBS, Commerzbank. So, and then she had like a career change. So she is really qualified to talk to us about this topic. So Hulya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Moni. Thanks for having me. And what a great introduction. Yeah, thank you.
Well, it is your trajectory. I just talked about it.
Lovely, thanks.
No, my pleasure. So let's go into your story. But before we go into the story, why is financial freedom so relevant these days?
I think the whole universe or world is going through change. And we're living in the era of like great resignation, as they call. So freedom, I think, in general is a topic now we need to talk. And freedom, there's no freedom without financial freedom. You cannot really just, resign and just assume that things are going to fall into place. No, it won't. So freedom comes with the financial freedom. And I think we're in this era of change. And financial freedom, as you say, is becoming more relevant because we realize actually we're going through some sort of health crisis, but it's also wealth crisis because it's totally relevant. People are not able to work. Some sectors are really affected. So if you can't adapt, then you're not going to be able to survive, and you cannot really avoid change. So we're going through this now, and what else is waiting us around the corner? Well, I hope good things, not another variant or some sort of something, but let's just hope that it is a good thing and the change is good and that's preparing us for a different world and a better world.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because, let's say, my personal journey, I've always been confident or overconfident. And I've always been like, oh yeah, if something happens, I'll just get another job. That was always my mindset until pandemic happens. And I was like, because of course I live in Malaysia, it's not my hometown. So something could happen, like the visa is not renewed or something. But when we were in the middle of the pandemic, I was like, oh, if something happens, the whole world is in crisis. No one is hiring. It's not like, it's like, how do you get a job? I was like, oh, it really hit me. And I was like, oh, that is not enough. Being good at your job is not enough. It is important to reconnect to your money Many of us, we work in financial services, but our personal finances are not as strong as they should. Many of us. And so it is, yeah, it is a very important topic because just like me, there's many people in that situation that when you lose your job, you're like, oh, it's extreme financial stress. So having said that, tell me about your story. How did you go from investment banker and asset manager to then saying, yeah, I don't want that world, and now I want to become a financial planner and help people with their financial life?
Well, I don't know if you've got enough time for my story because, as I said, I'm that old and yeah, I think, but it's important because I'm sure there are people who is going through the challenges that I've been through, and hopefully that might help them
Yes.
to make that transition or deal with the life's up and downs, because nothing is permanent. As I mentioned, change is inevitable. So at the beginning of the introduction, you mentioned about the numbers, and I have always been the numbers nerd. When I was little, just I can't learn history, and besides, I wasn't interested. I'm like, yeah, that's gone. The World War I is over. So, but with the numbers, I was always fascinated. Like, I can figure out everything if I can figure out mathematically, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So that's how my brain works. So maybe is it the left brain?
Yeah, it's still the
Yeah, so I think I'm more left brain person than being a right brain person. So maths and numbers were my thing, and I studied maths. So obviously that was a natural choice for me because I find it easy. As I say, that's a nerd side of me. But I don't only just like numbers. I also like people. I'm not just a numbers person, but I would like to figure people with and the world with the numbers. That's my way of navigating the world. So we all have got different ways of navigating the world. An artist would paint something and I would solve a problem. So that's how my journey, I think, to finance started. So from learning about numbers, from trying to figure out, so I was quite interested in how can I apply this mathematical knowledge and my understanding of numbers to help people. So that's where my journey started in finance. So I started working in banking pretty much after I graduated from uni.
Yeah.
So I worked in various different departments. You know how it is as a
Yes.
graduate.
Yeah.
So whatever the job they give you, you just do it. But I always worked with client-facing roles because I think it's a natural progression. I was listening somewhere, another podcast or something. How do I listen to somebody else's podcast? But I was. So somebody was like saying, possibly it was your post that you don't choose your passion, but your passion chooses you. Was it your post? I don't remember, but it's a natural progression. And I was always a client-facing role as much as the finance person. So I always worked with people and worked in banking. Then I moved to Dublin with work. That was a part of my journey because I believe that experiences shapes us.
Yes, I
and
do.
experiences makes us richer in a way.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was actually quite a big step for a girl from Istanbul. I'm from Istanbul originally.
Yeah.
I'm Turkish. And for a girl from Istanbul to move from Istanbul to Dublin is a big thing culturally. The society and everything was expecting me to get married and have 2.5 kids at that time.
Yeah.
But luckily, I am coming from a more open-minded family who supported me to move to Dublin, which was great, actually.
Which is a blessing. It's a blessing. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. So I'm so grateful for my father. Unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore, but I'm so grateful for my father's support in that. Yeah. He said to me to go. So I went to Dublin, set up my the bank's offices in Dublin. As a 20-year-old something, I was there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I was a CEO of a company at the age of 20 something.
Oh, that is cool.
Oh,
So
it was really cool.
you were sent from Istanbul to Dublin to open the Dublin office of the bank, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and set up and run it, and yeah, and so everything, all the regulators in Dublin, and
Yeah.
everything. So that was me, basically.
Oh, that is super cool. Didn't know that about you.
Yeah, it was super cool. I even traveled on the, private jets and everything. And I was 25 or something.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So yeah,
That is
anyway,
cool.
not to
Like,
brag, but
that is
if
fun.
if I didn't take that step, like, put myself out there, then I wouldn't have, that kind of experience, which was amazing. So I worked with amazing people over there.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. I totally didn't know this about you.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. I know, humble.
Oh, crazy, yeah.
So you were 25, and this is like, well, I will not disclose your age. I don't know your age, but probably this is like more than 20 years ago, roughly 20 years ago.
Oh, okay, you disclosed.
No. It's like rough, because like based on my age, it has to be like roughly 20 years ago. And then 20, like, just think about it. Like 20 years ago, you left Istanbul and then you went to Dublin to start a bank. Well, not a new bank, but like to start the expansion of a bank.
Exactly.
The office, And you said like, hey, you were in private jets, you kind of like run that. And your family was super supportive of you moving away. Like, and I think that's super important because like you said, it kind of like jokey, but when I was like in my mid-20s, I had a lot of pressure, indirect and direct pressure from, I was already in London, but I had a lot of pressure for getting married and having babies. And I was not that person. So I cannot even imagine that. And that is like what, 10, 15 years ago. And then it's like, I cannot imagine when you were 25, that was like even more revolutionary, not revolutionary.
Yeah,
but
it
like,
was. And I was in Turkey.
It is, and you were in Turkey, exactly, just like I was in Mexico. It's like, that is against the usual norms. What was going on in your head? Did you ever kind of like think, oh, I'm different? Oh, what if, like, what was your mindset back then to just go for this adventure knowing that you were not following the norm?
Very good question. Nobody knows what's going on in my head. But yeah, no, let me tell you. I mean, let's go back to the age thing. And I think that's also quite important to discuss, because I believe now that we also have got, that's also the kind of thing, at the age of 25, you get married and, you have 2 kids at the age of 50, which I am 50 now, that you should be looking at, care homes and, take your pills or something like that. But, I'm also against that kind of, constructs. Age is a social construct, and marriage is an institution. I'm not against it, don't get me wrong. But what was going on in my head is like, I was always a bit rebellious in a way that when I was pretty much, I think I was 5 or something, which 5-year-old girl puts their school uniform, take their school bag. I wasn't going to school, by the way. My brother was going to school, but I was like, I wanted to go to school. So my parents bought me a uniform and a school bag so that I don't feel left out. One morning I thought, like, what am I doing at home? It's just boring. Let me just go to school. So I put my uniform on and took the school bag and went to the school on my own without telling anybody. Turned up at the school gate. So I always had a mind of my own, like, 5-year-olds cannot leave home without telling their parents. Obviously, this didn't apply to me. So what was going on in my head always was like, I can do this. It never occurs to me like, oh, what if that fails? Maybe whether it's right or wrong, but that's how my mind works somehow.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a very powerful mindset, because fear can be so paralyzing. And then, and then it's like, you are more of a, I can do it.
Yeah.
And many of us, like, there's like, it's not only fear, but we doubt ourselves and our abilities. Therefore, it's like the mix of fear and doubt and uncertainty that you're like, and you're cautious, which is okay
Yeah.
as well. But it's like everything is okay. Like there's a little bit of everything for everyone. But that mindset is very powerful, especially if you've had that since you were a
Yeah,
kid.
I don't know how that happened, but it might be, it's not might be, it probably is. When I was growing up, we had to take care of ourselves. My brother had some health problems, and me and my other brother, we just had to take care of ourselves, and we learned how to take care of ourselves. In a way, that was a very sad experience, but you just have to turn these negative experiences into empowering ones. So that was what was going on in my head. And also, as I say, I think I wouldn't call myself not necessarily rebellious, but I really don't like these society's rules and the age and all these things. And that's what I'm teaching to my kids as well. I'm like, if you don't agree with something, then say it.
Yeah.
Did it cause me trouble? It did cause me a lot of trouble in life. Trust me. Would I do it differently? No.
Awesome. And then now if we like fast track, of course, you just mentioned your kids, like you built a career and you got married, you did both. You built a very successful career in investment banking. And then what was that transition between being in corporate and then choosing to leave corporate and going into independent?
Yeah. So over there's a bit of, again, personal story, but I believe it's okay to share because then again, we're all human and that's a human experience. So when I came to London, the reason why I came to London is that I met my husband when I was in Dublin. He was in London, but I was traveling between London and Dublin for work and etc. So I met him through this period, and we decided to get married. And to be honest, I was never so keen about getting married, but I'm a very ambitious person. That was a ticking box exercise for me.
Oh.
Like I'm 28, 29, tick box. Yeah. So by the time I'm 30, I was married. So that was my ticking box exercise. So it's quite important. You need to know why you're doing something. And I was doing it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, past is past. So I came to London and started working at Commerce Bank. It was Dresdner at the time. So I joined investment banking. I love finance, and as I mentioned, I love working with people. I was covering Turkish financial institutions while I was at investment banking, doing structured products and etc. But what I am not so good at is the corporate politics. Again, this is about, I cannot be, even if my life depends on it, I cannot lie. And if I don't like you, you would know. This morning I was telling this to my boys, and I told one of my bosses, like, I would rather drive an Uber than working for him. And
you told that to your boss?
Yeah, I did. And I was
with those words?
I did, and I was asked to leave, so which is not surprising. So I said to boys, okay, don't say this to your boss. I did say exactly that. Yeah. So I wasn't very good employee. I was very good at what I was doing. Don't get me wrong. I kept being promoted, but I am rubbish like that.
But you know what? That is a virtue. That you are not a good employee, because basically it's like, I can say like many times, I'm like, I'm a great employee, but if you don't want people to be great employees, you want people to be like great business people within a company. So it is a virtue, because I noticed that you were like, oh, I was not a good employee. Actually, that's really good, because then you kind of like a different way of thinking.
That's true. Like, always never fit in the mold, never, follow the crowd in a way. And I think it is powerful, but in a corporate world, and not only in a corporate world, in a society in general, we just try to make people the same. You know, if you're different, you're just like, she's too much of a problem, whatever. So that's the story in corporate. I was doing well. I was enjoying my job, as I mentioned. You know, I was in investment banking, and I kept being promoted. You know, until I said like I would rather Uber. So I think, yeah, I wasn't happy in a way that I was being treated. Yeah, clearly. And I made it very clear. Yes.
Yeah, you were not happy, definitely.
Yeah. And how I left corporate is actually that's again ticking box exercise. You know, I was coming to 35. I need to have kids now. You know, it's the conditioning is so strong. As much as you want to go against it, your programming is still there and it's still running the show in a way. So I thought, like, I really don't like this. There's people over here, you know, I would go and have some kids. And
I love it how you say it. It's like, yeah, it's like, I'll just go and have some kids. Like if it was just like having coffee, okay, cool.
Yeah, something like that. But I think also it was a part of being in a controlling relationship. I didn't realize that at the time. It's very, very difficult to realize these things because it can be very subtle.
And you are in it.
Exactly.
You're not outside and you see it. You're in it and then you stop seeing.
Exactly. And you can only see it, as you say, once you're out of that situation. So at the time I didn't notice. So I went and had my son, my first son. I was around 32, 33, again, box ticked. But I was a miserable stay-at-home mom. I'm crap. I don't do coffee mornings. I mean, I don't talk about in-laws. And, you know, it's just, if I don't learn, if I don't grow, then I think it's not only me, but I think it applies to humans in general. You need to be able to grow, you know. So I was like, oh my God, miserable as F. So when my son started going to full-time nursery, I went back to work at UBS. Investment banking and wealth management are more very different. You have worked in banking, you probably know that investment banking is greedier in a way than wealth management. You know, in wealth management, you still can talk to humans on a human level and you can help them on a human level, whereas investment banking is more corporate, you know, tax structures. I wasn't too excited about that. Yeah, I was more excited about knowing about people's life. Like, you know, yeah, I've got a son, you know, he's going to go to this university. Can you help us, you know, planning for the fees, and we're going to buy a property here. Can you have a look at the options? So I think that was more meaningful for me, if that makes sense. The wealth management side of it. But then again, I think it was a part of the controlling relationship that I was in. I was not encouraged to work by my husband, ex-husband now. It was like, yeah, why don't you know, sit at home, make sure you take care of the kids, and, you know, but it's very subtle. It's not like, yeah, just stay at home, we like you at home. I bought into it, you know, very daft, but yeah.
So then basically you went back to work and eventually you were like, hey, I like working with people. I've got all these years of experience. And then you decided to go as an independent financial planner.
Yeah,
before that, actually, to get here.
Oh yeah, so sorry, I told you I don't know if you have got, if you have got enough time. But before doing that, so becoming a financial planner, so I trained as a personal transformation coach and as a neurolinguistic programming practitioner. Basically, it was to sort myself out. like, you know, what's going on with me? I'm an ambitious career person. What am I doing with these kids at home? And, you know, I got my qualifications. I set up my career coaching business because I wanted to help people who were in my situation that has got a, you know, highly successful career, but then now they have got family and they need to balance it out and how to do that. So that was fascinating for me. So I set up my career coaching business. But finally, when I managed to get out of that controlling relationship, I knew that finance is my thing. And I'm going to do that. And I requalified again, took my exams to become a qualified investment independent financial advisor. Now I set up my own practice and yeah, I'm not looking back.
Amazing.
Yes.
How? Because I do believe like, well, that's my work, you know, like finances are so important in our lives. Most of us, we have a lot of stress when it comes to finances. So if we start changing gears a little bit and move away from your story, and I'll move more into finances and financial freedom, what are the biggest mistakes that you see people do that take them away from having strong finances?
Yeah, very good question. I think lots of people, a lack of knowledge or lack of
knowledge.
Yeah, lack of education in the finance.
Yeah.
We don't ever get any education about finance at school, do we?
No.
So I do speak to quite a lot of like young professionals just starting at their career. They're like, you know, they're really good, very successful in what they're doing. But, you know, when I say like, okay, when you do your self-assessment, you need to do that. And they're like, how do I know that? You know, who teaches that? Nobody does. So I think financial education and understanding finance in a way is powerful. I always say knowledge is power. But not to the degree that we can do this in a very extreme way. Like I sometimes also say to my clients, like, if you have got a toothache, you go to a dentist and ask the dentist to sort it out. You don't look at the internet and do some Google search and try and do the filling yourself. So educate yourself, but also get help from professionals.
Yeah,
if it's necessary. So we're not out there to get you. So there's like, unfortunately, some sort of like stigma about the bankers and wealth managers and etc. You got to find the right person. This is a very personal business. So find the right person, get some advice, have an understanding yourself. Don't bury your head in the sand. And the other thing that I see in my clients is like, what's the next get rich scheme? There is no next get rich scheme. And there isn't going to be. There isn't one. There has never been one. You know, even Warren Buffett does not have that kind of crystal ball. So
I will challenge you. So now that we have crypto and blockchain and NFTs, and many people believe that that is a way to get rich quick. And maybe some people have done it. But which words of caution could you tell people that are getting into crypto and NFTs and trading in this new era?
I'm so glad you brought up that topic. You know how many times that I speak to my clients about crypto and also property. So they are like so interested in crypto. Last year, I was talking to my clients who just wanted to keep their crypto investments, and I told them to liquidate a part of it. So the reason why I said is it's very volatile. If you want to have crypto, have like maybe 10% or 20% of your assets. Do not go all in. And
yeah,
besides,
unless your risk profile is such that you're like and your age and your everything, you're like, I'll go full in. But I tend to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Don't put like 100% of your eggs
No.
in one basket. In this case,
No.
the basket is crypto. Yeah.
And also mind the risks. Like, it's not a regulated sector. So, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose your money.
Yeah.
So is crypto the next get rich scheme? No, it isn't. But it's an asset class, nevertheless. I wouldn't tell you not to invest. Digital assets are going to be there. Understand it. And if you still want to invest, I'm investing in crypto, don't get me wrong. But how much? Not too much. You're not go all in.
Not all in, yeah. But
have a strategy.
Even when you say not too much, like you said like anything between 5, 10, even 20%. For me, 20% sounds like a lot.
A lot, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, that is a lot. So even just for anyone who's listening, it's like when it comes to investments, you need to assess your own situation, not because somebody said on a podcast or on Instagram or a YouTube video or a blog or anything that you should put 5% or 20 or 50% of your savings, assets, investments into crypto. That is a very, very personal decision based on your situation. And you need to understand your goals and you need to understand your risks and your appetite for risk. And you need to inform yourself. And based on that, then make a decision. What's the right allocation for, like Hulya said, like for this asset class that it's crypto?
Absolutely. I mean, when talking about 5%, 10%, 20%, it all depends on circumstance, of course. So when we are giving advice to the clients, we don't, for example, we cannot advise on crypto because it's not a regulated asset class. But do I invest in crypto? Do I know how to do it? I do. And do I know how the tax stuff works? I do. So how we look at the client situation when we are giving investment advice, as you say, first we need to understand their attitude to risk, and also, but that's not the only one. You can be, so let's say we do put classify clients from 1 to 5 in the risk scale, for example. You might be 5, but I won't put, that doesn't necessarily mean that I will put all your investments into crypto. I also have a look how much you can afford to lose. So that's what we call capacity for losses. So there are two things going on at the same time.
So it's risk assessment and capacity for losses.
For losses, yes.
And of course, your goals. You need to be very clear of what are you looking for. Yes.
Yeah, that's the financial planning, which I will talk about, when the right time comes. So what is the process that we take our clients? But yeah, in terms of the next get rich schemes, I believe in having a discipline and sticking with what you know.
Yeah, and informing yourself as well.
Yeah, knowledge, education. Yes, exactly. And getting the right advice as well. From the right people, not from your neighbor who's a crypto, millionaire, but yeah, the right person, the professional. Get a professional advice, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I also say like crypto, and that's my personal opinion. If your friend, your neighbor, it's getting the results and has put the effort to understand everything, also listen to them, get the perspective, understand their knowledge, where they're coming from, and then gather all this information, and then you can make your own decision based on that criteria. So do listen to the neighbor, just don't take everything that he says.
Yeah, no, exactly. Make an informed decision. Make an informed decision.
Yeah. And you are writing a book, right?
Yes.
Financial freedom.
Yes. It's coming this year.
Cool.
It is coming. Yes. Cool.
So is it about basically vehicles to get it into financial freedom? Is it about the planning process, or what's the core of the book?
The book is called Financially Free Female. So that's mainly aimed at empowering women to become financially free. But I think everybody can read it and learn it. I think it's a combination of the things that you mentioned. I think it's about the mistakes I've made, and so that people can learn not make these mistakes. Also learn how the process works. And it is a process. And as I say, you know, I'm a mathematician, and that's how my brain works in structures and processes, and it's quite important. And also like the mindset of becoming financially free.
What is that mindset? What is the mindset?
Well, it's it's a topic. It's so deep, you know.
Just in 3 minutes, the 5 points. Otherwise, we'll speak back for 5 hours.
Exactly. So it's about, I think humans are creatures of habit.
Yes.
You know, and we also live with a program. You know, I'm also fascinated about this whole neurolinguistic part of things, because it's fascinating, you know, as a scientific person as well. Like, I want to understand the mindset of things, but I also want to understand how the science works. So we live out of our habits, and we also have got some set of rules and beliefs that we live our life with. But these set of rules and beliefs, they can be limiting and not empowering. Yeah. And I think awareness is very important to change those. I sometimes say to my clients, my friends, I need a head transplant, but no, you don't need a head transplant to change your habits and behaviors. You just first need to understand, and you can change them to empowering habits and beliefs.
Yeah.
For example, you can have, you know, you can think, my mindset when it comes to money was, I'm good at academics, I can learn everything, I get A stars in everything. Money is for crooks. You know, money is,
yeah.
Is this true? No. Loads of people who are rich are very ethical. You know, some of them, yes, they aren't, but that's not my domain. I want to know the people who is like really ethical and making a difference for people, because with more money, you can make more difference, right?
Yeah.
So that's the mindset shift that you need to work on, your beliefs and also your habits. Are you a saver? Is it a good thing to be a saver? I don't know, not necessarily. You know, are you a spender? You know, or are you a hoarder? You holding so tightly? You know, all of these things, I think, also prevents people to achieve the financial success that they're looking for. Yeah. So it also talks about
mindset
that
and
as
habits.
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, okay, let's assume that we have a strong mindset when it comes to money. We understand how we think about money. That's what mindset means in this context. It's like what we think when we think money, and how we judge it, or we don't, and we use it as empowerment. But in addition to that, of course, like with any discipline, we need to take action.
Oh, yes.
It's just not thinking. Thinking is like a great part of the equation, but thinking without action, it takes us nowhere. So when it comes to taking action, what is can you share with us like a framework on how to think about how to have better financial well-being, or how to reach financial freedom?
Brilliant. No, I totally agree with you. You know, we can talk until the cows come home, they say here. There's no cows here, but I think in the past there was. Unless you take action, there's no result. You're not going to get results. Actually, just before our call, I was going through my notes, and there are, you know, I really like sayings and quotes and stuff like that. I don't know who said it, but like, you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next time is now. So just start where you are. And that's also another saying, like, start where you are with what you have. But the point is start. So I was talking about the financial planning process, and my book also talks about that, but you can also apply this in your managing your finances. So the first stage that we take our clients is what we call fact find. Fact find is understanding where you are, and you would be so shocked, like so many people don't know about what they have and where they have it and what's that doing. Like, oh, I have a pension plan, like, you know, somewhere, and yeah, but what is it investing into? Oh, I don't know. Is it investing into something? Like, yes. You know, what's the retirement options? And, you know, you would be shocked, like how many people actually don't know where they are. So the first stage is understand where you are. And the second stage is, as we discussed, you know, what is your attitude to risk? What's your beliefs around the money? How you came where you are, because your habits and beliefs.
That is so important. That is very important. It's not just where you are, but it's like understanding which habits and which beliefs you've been having in the past that got you where you are today. Because otherwise, if we don't see that, then it's very easy just to continue doing the same thing.
Exactly.
That's
and
a beautiful, beautiful way to explain it. Yes, exactly. That's a beautiful way to articulate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's the first stage. So I think that's again another saying, like, your best thinking brought you here, you know, but that thinking is going to take you to the same point next year, the year after, unless you change something. So again, awareness and not repeating the same thing and expecting a different result, which is the definition of madness. But we're not mad here. We're all, you know, clever people. And then as you mentioned about attitude to risk, understanding your risk attitude, you know, how much risk you can take and how much you can afford to lose. So we also categorize our clients based on their life stages. Like, you know, you can be nearing the retirement and your financial plan would be different and your investments would be different to someone who is in the what we call accumulation stage in their life. So what life stage you're in. You know, if you have got a young, it's very important. If you have got a young family, you know, your children, I know how expensive they are. I've got 3 of them. So then you just need to know what life stage you are on. And based on that, you determine your priorities.
That's
what's important to you. And that's where I think my coaching work comes into play, to understand what's important to you, what are your priorities, what's your values. If education is important to you, maybe you should set up a education fund for your kids rather than buying them a property. So these are all you know, conversations that we have with our clients. So understand your priorities, understand your values, understand what's important to you. Then the next stage is, then we, as you mentioned, set up goals.
Yeah.
Short-term goals and long-term goals. When I say short-term, in finance, usually short-term is like 3 to 5 years. For an investment horizon. It's difficult to plan anything shorter than that. If you want to invest, you need to
give it some time for it to
some grow. Time, exactly,
and to account for all the volatility and the
volatility. Yeah. And then the long term is the retirement planning section. Then we do the long-term goals, and we know where you are, we know where you want to go, and now we just build a plan around that. So that's how our framework works, and that's how you can actually apply it to yourself.
Okay. That's a very interesting framework. I have a follow-up question on that. We've been focusing on financial planning as such. Mm-hmm. And basically, based on what we discussed, that takes into account that I have a job with a fixed income. Mm-hmm. But then many people want to accelerate that growth, because like all that we've been saying, it's like basically you take your income and then you save, you invest, you grow it, you have a plan, you have a strategy. But do you ever talk with your customers about creating an additional stream of income? Or is it more, or the work that you do, is it most on managing your wealth, existing income, let's say?
Mainly managing your income. But for example, I do work with some clients who's going through divorce, because unfortunately I've been through divorce and I know how the process works. So you have got one pot and then it's all of a sudden divided into two pots, but people are still holding on to their past and want to live the same lifestyle. Unfortunately, I tell them sometimes the clients need tough love, so does the children. So sometimes I tell them, look, you either increase your income or you reduce your spending. So this is not a rocket science. It's the same as when it comes to weight gain and weight loss. It's a matter of creating a calorie deficit. If you want to lose weight, you've got to create a calorie deficit. If you want to build wealth, you need to increase your income or reduce your spending. So
that's
there
a
is
beautiful
no
analogy.
Yeah, it is. It is very similar, to be honest. You know, wealth management and health management, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, there's no magic wand. You know, yeah, you can go and get liposuction. And I have friends who had, you know, resorted that kind of stuff, but that is not a healthy way of doing it. And so is the finance, so is the building wealth. So I do tell them, obviously, if you want to increase your income, you either increase your rates, you either get a salary that pays more, or you get a different stream of income. So all of these are possibility. And I do advise my clients on that because, you know, without a surplus income, you're in debt.
There's so much that you can do. And
Yeah.
Awesome. What would be your final remarks for anyone who is in the journey of creating more wealth, not because they want more wealth, but because they want that stability and the safety that it comes with having strong finances?
I think possibly two things. The first of all, get your head right around money. You know, look at your money story. What brought you here so far? What doesn't work? What does work? So get your head in the right place about money.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I believe in discipline big time, and have a discipline. You know, it's like, again, losing weight part, because I'm trying to lose weight recently. You know, if you're going to go and have chocolate brownies, you're not going to lose weight. If you're going to go and get 2 shoes, don't get me wrong, I don't tell people not to spend their money, but I'm telling people to have a discipline, stick to a budget, know your numbers, and just have self-discipline and stick with it. And then trust me, your wealth is going to grow. I think these are the two main things.
Yes, I think I'll have to ask another question.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So that is so easy to say, so difficult to do.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm like, yeah, it sounds very sensible, just like losing weight, like you say. It's like, how can we change our behavior such that we start creating that change in our finances, so that shows that we stick to the budget, such that we do the work when it comes to looking at our numbers?
Again, I think it's a very good question, and to be honest, unfortunately, I don't know all the answers, because, you know, we're never a finished product, and it's the human psyche is the most difficult thing to understand. But again, I'm going to come to an analogy about losing weight side of things, because I'm fascinated by it's very mindset related, and both sides are, you know, how much you know, the deficits and surpluses and everything. It's just so relatable. Like, it's very difficult to do it on your own sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, get help, get professional advice. Like, you can go to the gym, but if you work with a personal trainer, then you will be fitter in a quicker time. So it's not easy to do all on your own, but prioritize your financial well-being as well as your physical well-being.
Oh, I think that's it. Prioritize your financial well-being.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. That is the beginning of the change, to make it a priority for you.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, the Rome is not built in one day. It's a process.
That's important because we
yeah, it's a
tend to be
process.
very hard on ourselves. So it's more of a, hey, you're starting to make the changes. It's a process. Just make your financial well-being a priority. And if you start taking all these consistent actions, then within a small period of time, you will start seeing that you have structures in place, that now you know your numbers, that you have your budget, that you have your strategy. And over time, you'll be like, oh, I got it. You changed your behavior.
Yeah, it's not a there's no magic pill, there's no magic wand that nobody has ever can give you. It's a process. What I would say is, if you might go and spend some money like one day, but don't beat yourself, as you say. Don't be hard on yourself. Just also enjoy your money. You know, there is a book called Happy Money by Ken Honda. He's a Japanese accountant, and I don't know if you know about it, but like, you know, there's this concept of arigato money, like be grateful, you know, all these things. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm a left-brained person, but you know, my journey taught me that there is the spiritual side of money as well. So don't be hard on yourself. It is a journey, and there's no quick fix. But as I mentioned, the best time to start is now.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to finish. Thank you so much, Hulya. It's been very insightful to get to know your story and your mindset, and then properly going into such an important area of life that it's like our finances, because it is important for every single one of us. Every single one of us. There is no you, yes, you know, race. It's relevant for everyone, especially. It's always been relevant, but today, it is extremely relevant. So Hulya, thank you so much for your energy and your wisdom and your insights. And everyone, hope you enjoyed. Remember to listen to the episode again and pick one item, one action that you can take, one concept, implement it, take it action, and little by little, you'll start seeing the results. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.